2, 1. What is up, travel heads? I'm your host, Brian from LifeOfBD, and I welcome you to episode 10 of Talk with BD. Today's guest has been through a lot in the past few months. She tested positive for COVID-19, aka coronavirus, just last month, and I want to thank her for accepting the invitation as a guest on my podcast so we can talk about the beginning stages of how she got the virus, the symptoms, and what she had to go through as someone who tested positive for coronavirus. So without further ado, Doris.
Hey, what's up?
What's up, Doris? Thank you for coming on.
Oh, you're welcome. This is so far pretty interesting.
Yeah, how are you feeling right now?
I'm actually feeling great. I guess the whole coronavirus thing kind of passed already, so I'm pretty much back to normal life.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
So you want to tell us a little about yourself?
Well, hey everyone. My name is Doris, and thank you so much, for having me today. And a little bit things about myself. Nothing too interesting aside from like I eat a lot. So like you, Brian.
Okay.
So travel around, eat a lot. Nothing really exciting aside from that.
Oh, eating is an exciting topic. I mean, I would like to get on it more later on, but yeah.
That's also true. But yeah, I've been like stuck at home, so like there's no delicious food for me at all.
Okay. And you don't try to use Grubhub or DoorDash or none of those apps, huh?
I started doing it the last week and a half because like, with the whole coronavirus thing, I was basically instructed not to get in contact with anybody.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So the whole month-ish, I was just like eating whatever is home.
Okay, all right.
Got to the whole Uber Eat, DoorDash.
Shout out to those workers.
I know.
But yeah, before COVID-19 touched down in America, you visit Hong Kong in February. Hong Kong isn't one of the destinations that has many cases, but were you worried at the time before you went to Hong Kong?
It was when I first got back to Hong Kong, which was mid-January.
Okay, mid-January.
It was around mid-January to like almost end of February. So when I first got back, it was not as crazy. It was still kind of like, well, something is happening, but it was not like a major thing yet. But people in Hong Kong, I guess from the whole SARS like experience from the past, everybody was kind of like getting ready for it. People were, the first few days when I got back, Hong Kong was still normal. Like everybody was out, everybody was preparing for like Chinese New Year. So things were really normal. But by the time it was like a week and a half after I got back, that's when the whole thing blew up.
And when you say you got back, you're talking about got back to Hong Kong, right?
Back to Hong Kong.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry. Yeah. So when the week and a half after I got back to Hong Kong, that's when the whole thing, kind of start going down in China. Yeah. It was a pretty interesting experience actually.
Yeah. It's like everyone had masks on or something, right?
It even for me, it was like a pretty major decision making because when I first got back, my family was like, well, this is happening, just be careful about it, and here there's some masks, like we have some home. And then before I actually left the state, before I went back to Hong Kong, I actually asked my family, hey, do you guys need me to bring some masks back? I had heard like there's some, everybody's kind of preparing for it. So, but then my family was like, well, we're having a supply, it should be okay. And then as soon as the whole thing happened, my family was like scrambling around everywhere trying to put a mask.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah. And when I first got back, I didn't even wear a mask. It came across my mind, but then I was like, this is not that serious. It should be all right. And then next thing I know, I'm like, my family was like on my ass for it. So I ended up like, okay, doing it for my family. So I decided to put on a mask, and that was my entire month in Hong Kong, like the day to
just being a ninja with the mask on. So it's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure everyone was already aware of it out there because of the SARS outbreak. So they already experienced one. So right when they heard of it, they're like getting right on it and stuff.
Oh yeah, it was crazy because I guess what happened, like the whole like surgical mask
Hmm.
shortage never really happened when when the whole SARS thing
Yeah.
happened, because I guess because no one was fighting with Hong Kong. But this time the situation is slightly different because China, it happened in China first, and basically the whole supply chain kind of got paralyzed by basically everybody trying to scramble for supply, surgical masks, toilet paper, rice.
Oh yeah, rice. Well, we're Asian. I got my rice too. Toilet
I know.
paper, I didn't really get. Rice was more important for me.
Yeah, it was weird because like people always joke about like how for the uh, f- tampons or like female like products, it
Hmm.
was all sold out in Hong Kong too. I was just like scratching my head like asking why.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a pretty interesting experience. Like literally, like everywhere was like packed with people in line waiting for getting like rice.
Hmm.
Grocery stores like all wipe out.
Yeah. Yeah, we had that in America when it started, but which was
Right.
crazy also. So,
I,
do you feel you received any backlash when you went to Hong Kong from anyone or any of your friends or anything because of the virus? Or like when you were coming back?
it luckily not really. My friends would joke about it and they'd be
Hmm.
like, "Oh, we're not gonna see you," and I live in a house with three other person.
Yeah.
So I did ask them ahead of time. I was like, "Hey, by the way, this is happening. Do you guys feel more comfortable if I come back and stay at, just say, a hotel by
Oh, yeah.
myself for at least 2 weeks first?" But they were like, "No, just come home. Like, we they kind of like, we don't really care. It would be all right."
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess because when I was in Hong Kong, everybody was like paying really close attention. So the whole, keeping our hand clean, wear surgical mask was like like a daily thing
Yeah.
everywhere we go. So I was trying to be really safe about it.
Yeah, okay. So you did the right things. So how did it all start? Like, how did you find out that you had the coronavirus? Can you like tell us from the start of it, like how it all started? This is gonna be interesting.
Yeah, like so after I come back, for the first 2 weeks, I try to minimize with like seeing anybody.
Hmm.
I did have some like business activities that require me to go see people. But those people, they were aware that I just came back from Hong Kong, type, sort of thing. And in my mind at that time, I was like, I didn't get sick.
Hmm.
I was completely fine. It was the first 2 weeks when I first came back, I was like completely fine, no symptoms, no nothing.
Yeah.
And out of nowhere, which is funny, on the 15th or 16th days after I came back, it was a Saturday, and it was early March, Saturday, early March. Out of nowhere, like the entire day, I was just like so tired. I was just like, okay, I need to sleep and I need to rest for whatever reason that is. And I literally had like, I was in bed for like 16 plus hours that day.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like I just went to sleep on Friday night. I woke up 4 or 5 p.m. on Saturday,
Mhm.
and then went right back to sleep at 8. So I was just like, oh, probably just like, too tired from the week.
Mhm.
So I'm just gonna let myself rest. And the next thing I know, on Sunday, when I woke up, it was also in like early afternoon. So it was kind of weird. Like around 1 or 2 o'clock, I woke up. I'm like, I'm feeling really, really tired. And I start having a cough. So I'm just like, oh crap, I'm like getting sick. Because
Yeah.
my housemate at the time, he had like, when I first got back, he was a little sick, but it was just like a regular, cold sort of thing.
Okay.
There was no
Yeah.
coronavirus symptoms, nothing like that. So I'm like, oh crap, I myself, gotten that from him, and just sick, right?
Yeah.
And Sunday went by, I was just like, I'm so tired, coughing really bad, start having sore throat on Sunday night, which I was just like, okay, I'm just getting sick, it will be over. And on Monday, I need to go to, I had like a business related like case with the legal system. No, I shouldn't put it that way. I had to go to court that day, and me being, just came back from Hong Kong and I had a cough. I'm like, okay, I am going to do my part and put on a surgical mask, which I had like 4 left at that point when I, that I brought back from Hong Kong. So use one of those. Right when I went inside the courtroom, I was like from far away, I was asking the clerk, I'm like, hey, by the way, I'm not feeling too well. Is it like before I was even able to finish my sentence, she just saw me with the mask on. She's like, just wait outside. So they just automatically kicked me out.
Okay.
And for 5 hours. Well, It was more 4.5 hours waiting in the hallway. And I was able to go inside to talk to the judge for like 15-20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole time it was just, it was an interesting thing because like everybody that saw me at the court, in the hallway, in the courtroom, everybody kind of gave me that look.
Yeah, because you're Asian and you had a mask on.
Right, and I was coughing.
Oh,
I was sick, and people kind of like. I also try to keep a distance from people. People also try to keep a distance.
Yeah.
And which I had a conversation with my friends when I was like just waiting through Messenger, and then my friend was like, well, you were kind of asking for attention in terms of what, you put on a mask, you go to a public, this is, expected to happen, which was a pretty interesting conversation for me. But, that day passed on, left the court after being there for 5 hours, really tired.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up had to pass out in my car for roughly 6 hours before I was able to drive somewhere else and go, because I had to meet up with one of my friends that day, he's my housemate, so I need to meet up with him. And then we went to dinner and I was not able to eat at all.
Okay.
So we went home, I literally the entire car ride, I just passed out, went home. And then the symptoms just start developing throughout the week.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up having fever. I was not, my appetite was completely gone. I basically would be eating every a day and a half to 2 days.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really bad. And within that week and a half period of getting really, really sick, I think I lost 15 pounds.
Ooh, yeah, you weren't eating. That's one thing.
Well, I wasn't able to eat. I wasn't really able to drink too much water, which I tried to force myself to. Mm-hmm. And then what happened? Yeah, and then the cough was just getting really, really bad. I could not say a word without me coughing my lungs out.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was. If I can somehow find a voicemail message with my friends or whatever, I will send it to you, and you can hear I was basically, I can't even we do it anymore because that's how bad it was. It was. Everybody that heard me was like, "Hey, are you okay? You sound like you're dying. Don't talk."
Mm-hmm.
And sick from Sunday to Wednesday night. So it's within a couple of days, I'm it was just out of nowhere. I was just hey guys, so I was asking my housemate, I was hey, would you guys feel more comfortable if I go get myself tested? And at that point, everybody, including myself in the house, everybody was oh yeah, go get tested, but I doubt that, everybody was just no, you're just, regular sick. I don't think there's anything more going on. It's not coronavirus. Mm-hmm. So the following Thursday, I ended up calling the health department in Orange County. So I was hey, by the way, I have all the symptoms. And the lady was obviously over the phone, she was obviously hearing me coughing really badly. So I was after I explained all the symptoms, they were actually going to turn me away. They were going to be like, oh, I don't think you need to get tested. Which at that point I was like, by the way, I just kind of came back from Hong Kong, even though it's not within 14 days. And once I said that, the entire story changed.
Okay.
Like the lady on the phone with the health department, from the health department was like, okay, if that's the case, then we're going to set you up with, this urgent care, go contact them, explain the same symptoms to them, and just go from there. So as soon as I hang up the phone with the health department, I called the urgent care that they appoint me to. Same thing, explaining the whole symptoms. Another lady with the urgent care, and they're saying, okay, we're going to talk to the doctor, and the doctor is going to call you, and they're going to do a screening over the phone for you to see if you really need to come in for the test. So I waited not too long. It was like within an hour and a half. A doctor from the urgent care called me. She heard all the symptoms, and then she wanted me to go in, the following day, which they were like, yeah, we have opening for Friday. If you want to stop by, Friday afternoon, we can set you up with an appointment. Unless we are instructed by other doctors or health department, then you can just come in tomorrow.
Okay.
And so I'm like, okay, fine, set up the whole appointment thing and hang up, basically to hang up. And then I was sleeping again, and out of nowhere, another doctor called me asking me for the same thing again.
Mm-hmm.
And basically told me, oh yeah, appointment, you probably, come in, get tested, and another doctor is going to screen you in person and then see if you need the test. Didn't really cross my mind with anything, hang up the phone, and then out of nowhere, the urgent care with, I guess they explained to me in a different way where like they have a proper testing equipment. So which at that point I'm like, I don't quite understand. Well, I thought there's only one test.
Yeah.
So they call, that was around like 5:30 in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
And they just call and they're like, hey, by the way, we heard what happened. And then we actually want to send you to a different urgent care, which is within the network, but then according to them, they have the proper testing equipment. And they're like, if you want to come in, you can come in right away. So at that point, I'm like, okay, I couldn't drive, so let me find a housemaid, try to get a ride. So got to the urgent care, and they specifically instructed me that I had to call them and wait outside in my car when I get there.
Yeah.
So I did what I was instructed, and waited for like 15 minutes. And it was like, just give you like an idea, it was raining outside that night.
Yeah.
And me and my housemate, two girls was just waiting in an empty parking lot in front of a building that looks, with an urgent care sign on it.
Yeah.
And then we're just waiting, we're chit-chatting, we're like, what's going to happen? And then we parked right outside of the emergency room, like urgent care, like front door, I guess, sort of. And then we just like chit-chat. And then I kind of joked about like, I'm pretty sure by the time the doctor or whoever needs to come out to get me, it will be pretty obvious. And I was just joking like how they're going to have full gear and I like, the whole thing, right?
Like the quarantine gear, right? All white and with the mask, like a scary movie.
Yeah, I was kind of joking about it. And the next thing we know, we're like, holy crap. This is exactly what they were doing.
Wow.
The nurse and the doctor came out, and doctor was like in full gear, as if, you see on the news, with the shield, mask, goggles, everything. And he was like, hey, can I come into the car? So he actually went to the back seat of my housemate car. And that's where he did the screening with me. He was asking me a bunch of questions based on, because he had like a checklist that I kind of glanced through where it was from the health department.
Yeah.
So he was basically following the protocol. The nurse took, all my heartbeat, blood pressure, all those information right outside the car.
Okay.
So doctor asked me more question. He did the screening, and the next thing he knows, he was next thing I know, he was like, yeah, we're gonna get ready, and you have to come inside. So I was like, okay, I'm not exactly sure what you meant by like let us prepare, and we'll take you in. And I think it was like 5-ish minutes later, they came outside again and told me, okay, we're ready for you. Let's go. So when I walk in, it was like normally urgent care, you will still see quite a bit of people. Like they're quite busy because it's like the urgent care I went to is still a pretty big network in Southern California. So by the time I got in there, I just saw like one security person really far away in the hallway, like at the end of the hallway. And they had me wait in the hallway, one of the hallway first. And then they basically went inside to clear the rest of the people out before they were able to let me walk.
Wow.
Yeah, to like a patient room. So they clear out, from my understanding, they clear out the entire session, everybody in the hallway, before I was able to go in. So got there, the whole process started. Doctor was like, it might just, it might just feel like a regular, sort of not. He didn't really put it as like a regular cough or anything like that. He was just like, it sounds kind of like it, but I don't think it is. Like at the beginning, he was like, it should just be like something else. And so they proceed with, more checking, screening, asking more questions, which basically the same answer I was able to give them every single time. And then they pull out the test kit, which is the test kit that I did contain of. Let me explain how that whole thing works. They took that test. They took 2 samples. Well, actually, they took 2 samples. One were from my nozzles. So they have this really skinny, really thin, skinny stick with a scrub. I don't even know what it is at the end of it. The tube. It's kind of like when you one of those frosting things that is like a tiny, not a toothpick, but like really skinny, and at the end of it is like some spiky things that you can clean with like your teeth. I don't know how to describe it, but
like
it looks
floss, like, or
it looks like a spiky, skinny Q-tube. That's the best thing I can explain.
Okay.
And then the nurse / technician, she was taking my sample, and what they need to do was they had to put it really, really deep inside my nose, and they had to scrub over my nozzles for one sample, and then they had to take another sample from my throat, which is like they basically stick the whole thing, and then they just like do the scrub. The first time, I guess because I was basically, according to them, I was basically the first patient for the urgent care. So the nurse, I could tell, from the vibe of it, the nurse didn't exactly know what to do with the test kit, or the technician. I don't really know her position there, but so yeah, the first kit that she took my samples, the doctor ended up saying like, no, that's not how you do it. So they had to redo the whole thing again. And I guess what she did wrong was she didn't put it deep enough inside my nozzle and my throat. So she was doing kind of like a regular scrub.
Yeah.
Just take the sample, and apparently that's not how that kit works. So I feel bad because a lot of people out there can't even get a testing done right now. And for me, they wasted one of the kid on me.
Oh yeah, that's so true.
So I feel bad about it, but that's something out of my control. And after that, they took the sample. The doctor said we have to do an X-ray just to confirm, making sure everything is fine. Even at that point, when I was sitting in front of the doctor, I was just like, this is nothing. Everybody's very paranoid. I am just doing my, kind of taking my responsibility a little bit to get the test done and move on. And they cleared out the whole X-ray room again, went in, took the X-ray. And when I got back to the patient room, the doctor was like, he came in, he's like, I need to send you to the emergency room. And he was like, yeah, you have to go. I'm like, without explaining anything, he just told me that, right? I was just like I started to stutter. I was like, what's going on? Why do I need to go? And then that's when he started to explain to me that where in the X-ray image, he could see, it obviously indicate pneumonia in both lungs.
Yeah.
And then he was like, with your symptoms, with the X-ray, and which he couldn't really confirm at that time, but he was like, he basically tried to say like, I can't really see the image too clearly, but this looks like what's going on. And the hospital emergency room, they will have a CT scan that they can confirm. So he was like, we're gonna call an ambulance. We have to go. So at that point, I was just like sitting there. I'm like, what's really going on? And the doctor just left the room, right?
Yeah.
So me and my housemate, she and I were just like, what's going on? Like, it's everything all right? Because, obviously I didn't get too much information from the doctor. And then he was gone for like maybe 20-ish minutes. Mm-hmm. And then he came back. And then he basically told me, he's like, he was on the phone with the urgent care. He was on the phone with the health department, and he was on the phone with UCI hospital for the emergency room. And both health department and the hospital, they're like, no, we don't want her here unless she's like unless she's in distress, unless she's like basically dying. We just send her home. So doctor and I was just like, okay, because the doctor really, really wanted to send me to the hospital, because to him there's no way for him to confirm, and this seems dangerous. But with the instruction from health department and the hospital, he ended up having to send me home, and he gave me a breathing treatment when I was there. And then it was kind of funny, like right before I left and when I was still on the breathing treatment, the doctor ended up like somehow like came next to me, and then he was holding my hand. Like I was just laying, kind of like half laying, sitting on the bed, doing the breathing treatment, can barely talk. And then he just held my hand, looked right into my eyes, and said, "Don't worry about it, you'll be fine." And I was just like, okay, like what's going on, right? Because I didn't even see the X-ray. Like no one showed me anything. It didn't come across my mind to ask for it, to sort of get more explanation out of it. So I left.
Yeah.
And then before I left, the doctor prescribed me with an inhaler, with some over-the-counter cough medication. And then he was like, just in case, I'm going to give you some antibiotic, like, just in case, right? Mm-hmm. So, pick up medication in the pharmacy, went home, took all the medication, and then just went to sleep. So that was the night with emergency room. I mean, with the urgent care.
Okay, that's weird. That's like, I would thought they would like.
That's when the whole thing started.
Yeah, so it's weird because I thought they would like take more precautions, like don't touch anything, don't interact with anyone, stuff like that. But I guess it's because they couldn't confirm that you had the virus at the time.
Yeah. I think the urgent care was already doing the best based on the situation, because the entire time I was there, Basically anywhere they need to send me, the hallway is completely clear.
Yeah.
And I only saw a total of 3 person the whole time being in the emergency, being at the urgent care, which is the doctor, the nurse, and the technician, or the radiology technician. They were being really careful, but having that experience at the urgent care and compared with the hospital, then I do see a complete different precaution that they, the protocols, like different protocols and stuff from both places. But yeah, so back to the whole urgent care, going home. So yeah, I took all the medication doctor told me and went to sleep. In the middle of the night, like 3 a.m., I woke up with like really bad itch, like everywhere on my body. Like it started from my back, so I just kind of like scratch it, woke myself up. And then out of nowhere, I turned on the lights, and I was just like, there are rashes everywhere on my body. That's when I started to panic. Yeah. And then I was just like, I ran to my one of my housemates, and because he's more of the quote-unquote house doctor in the house. So I was like, hey, I woke him up. I was like, hey, I don't know what's going on, but this started happening, and it was like start to have like spots just on my arm, tiny rashes at that point. And he was like, well, you're a lot, like it seems like you have a lot, allergy reaction of some sort, but we will see how it goes in the morning, because that was like, almost 4 a.m. There's nothing we can really do. So went to sleep, and next thing I know, I woke up at 6 o'clock again, and the whole rashes was just like big patches of rashes everywhere, like my leg, my back, my arms, like everywhere. So at that point, all I could think of was I need to go to the pharmacist, which luckily the pharmacy I go to, they are 24/7. So I went back, and the same pharmacist that helped me the night before, she was like, "Is everything all right?" Because I think I make an impression for her that I got a lot of cough medication, and I was wearing a surgical mask, and I was kind of like dying when I was talking to her. So she saw me in the morning, and she's like, "What's going on? Is everything all right?" So I was like coughing, barely able to talk. I'm like, "Is this normal?" So I just show her the rashes, and she looked at me. She's like, "You have to go get Benadryl right now, and you have to take 2 of them, and you have to go, talk to your doctor, or even go to the emergency room. Stop taking any medication that they prescribe you, and most likely it's antibiotics." Yeah. So went home, did exactly what she told me. Took Benadryl, 2 Benadryls in the morning. Rashes didn't really go away, and then took another 2 in the afternoon. Went back to sleep. Nothing was improving. So the doctor from the urgent care called me on, that afternoon, asking me how is everything, just trying to, check up on me to see if everything was okay. And I told him about the rashes, and he was like, "You have to go to the emergency room right now." And that was, 3, 4 in the afternoon. I was like, I will wait for a little bit just to see like how the whole thing goes. Maybe, allergy just gonna take a little bit, take a little while to be completely fine from it or whatever. So, and then proceed with my evening, sleep more, and around 10 o'clock at night, I was like, this is getting worse and worse. Okay. So I ended up calling the UCI hospital emergency room to ask if there's anything I should be doing. And I guess UCI hospital is like a designated facility for coronavirus. So the health department specifically told me if I need to go anywhere, I have to go to UCI. So I called UCI. I was on the phone with them and explained the whole situation one more time, talking to the I think the nurse in charge. I don't necessarily know their title. She was screening me. She was asking me questions, and next thing we know, she was like, "Okay, you have to come in right now. We'll take you in." Which was kind of funny because they turned me away the night before, and then because of allergy reaction, so they're like, "You have to come in."
That's weird how they call you in for the allergic reaction you had from the medicine, but not from like the actual corona symptoms, right?
I know it's interesting. I guess potentially, if this allergy keep building up, there's a chance of kind of like a immediate life-threatening situation kind of thing.
Oh, and weak immune system from all that stuff, probably.
It didn't really explain anything to me. But yeah, when I got there, UCI hospital has I was gonna go, I just ran out of surgical mask that day, so I had my bath towel. I just covering my whole face, the entire ride, because hospital actually wanted me to call ambulance to go in. They don't have anybody drive you. Just call the ambulance, and which, in a sense, where I'm literally just down the street from UCI hospital, that's really not necessary for me to take an ambulance when I can just get a ride there. Got there. I was going to walk into the emergency room, but my housemate who drove me there ended up saying, "Hey, you can't go in there." And then he pointed at a sign, and it says, "If you have XYZ symptoms, you have to go in here and wait here instead of the actual patient room." So which that ended up being like a empty kind for hospital. It's like a really tiny room. It's empty. It has like a big glass that you can see the other side, which is where the receptionist or where they take you in kind of thing. I waited there for a little bit, and then no one came to me, so I ended up just looking in the window. I was just like, "Hey," and it's pick up the phone. So there's a phone specifically in that little room. So we're talking, they're asking me some basic information, and they were like, "Don't go anywhere, just stay there, someone will grab you when we're ready." So waited there for a little bit. There was a lot of waiting in this process, so yeah, waited there for a little bit. And a nurse, an RN came out, and then he just took me, and then there was a specific hallway that they go into. So there's a specific way that they took me inside the actual emergency room. So he took me in, and then they put me in a room. And that room is interesting. As a regular emergency patient room, there would be a lot of equipment, a bed there that for sure that bed to stay there, sort of thing, like a full-on equipment room kind of thing. But the room they put me in, there were only three things: 2 chairs, and one of those kind of, the sense they gave me is kind of like a backup patient bed type of thing. They just put it there, and it's a complete empty room.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was your mind thinking at the time when you saw a room that's like, well, that's not what I pictured, right?
Yeah, it was absolutely not what I pictured, but I was just like, when the other RN that came in, which he ended up being the person taking care of me the entire time, I kind of joke about, I was like, "Did you guys just put the room together?" I was just, kind of light in the mood, talking, and he was like, "Oh, well, we knew you were on the way, so we moved the room." And he explained to me because why is that room so special? And he said in the entire hospital, there are only, I think, 2 or 3 of those rooms that have what they call the zero pressure room. So basically, whenever someone opened the door, the air inside the room would not get out.
Wow.
Yeah, so they put me in that room specifically because of all my symptoms, and that matches the whole coronavirus situation.
Right.
So which I was like, oh, that's interesting. Well, never heard of a room like that at a hospital, and here, this is where I am.
Yeah.
And the whole and the whole time, which is interesting, the experience was like being at the emergency room that night. I really appreciate the nurse that was taking care of me. And one interesting thing that happened was that they had to do CT scan on me, X-ray, and they had to do an EKG on me. So instead of me going to a specific room for X-ray, the technician brought all the equipment, like the portable equipment, to me, because they didn't want me anywhere else assigned in that room.
Okay.
So that happened, and then the EKG, which they have to get, the activities of my heart and stuff like that. The nurse came in. He wasn't embarrassed, but he was being really careful the way he worded for me. And he's like, "Hey, Doris, I know this is unusual, and usually for EKG or like anything that a nurse would touch you, we would normally have a female nurse for you. But we're trying to minimize the people that you see in this hospital and get in contact with you. Is that okay if I were the one that do it?" So I was like, "Well, you need to do what you need to do. I don't want to get anybody else sick, so go ahead." So that was a interesting medical encounter that the nurse had to kind of. I wasn't sure why. Well, I understand why he worded carefully, but that was like an interesting situation for me for some reason.
I get it though.
And he put IV on both of my arms. He was like, "Well, we need to take blood tests, we need to do this, we need to do that, and based on your current situation, I'm pretty sure we need to give you a lot of like fluids, just to make sure you're hydrated." So both of my arms were just like, and I was just like, "Oh, this hurt. I can't really do much." But I was on my phone. I was trying to be on my phone. And got to the emergency room at like around 12, and I think around like 4 o'clock, 3-ish, 4-ish, that's when a doctor came in to kind of sort of explain the situation. But it was more, I'm on this side of the room on the bed getting my fluids, and the doctor was just like standing on completely on the side. And obviously he had full gear and he had everything too, and the doctor was just kind of like I guess like his posture kind of got a pretty interesting experience for me, where like he put his arm in the back, he was leaning towards the wall, and then when he was talking, he was just like, your story sounds really, the chances of you having it's pretty good. The story matches. Like he kind of gave me a vibe where like he also doesn't really want to believe in it, but then at the same time it's like everything that he has seen so far is pointing towards the way where like I was positive for coronavirus and stuff. And then and at the same time was that normally when doctor talk to you about your health, your situation, they would have the sort of like confidence where like this is exactly what we're going to do, the whole medical plan is going to be like this. But this time was more like it was the way he presented it was more like, well, we will keep you here, like you look like you're dying, we're gonna keep you here for observation, and that's basically it.
Okay.
And we will wait for the test. But it I guess it's the way how he delivered it, like how he talked to me at that moment. that kind of got kind of stick in my head.
It didn't
And
really sound like he knew how to approach you with the whole thing, huh? Because it's something new still for everyone, I guess.
yeah, and I asked the nurse that was taking care of me, and I was like, am I you know, like, am I your first patient with this? And he kind of joked about it, but he was like, well, I just came back on vacation, so yeah, if you're positive, then you'll be my first. I was like, oh well, okay. And at the hospital, because they put me on like within the 5 hours period, 5, yeah, they put me like 2 bags of fluids, so I really had to use the restroom, and which was funny because I was like, hey, by the way, I can't, where's the bathroom, like I to go. The nurse basically looked at me, he's like, we can't let you walk anywhere, and I can, like, he basically told me, like, I can give you, the bedside kind of like portable thinging, and I can also give you a pee pen, like, stuff like that, right? And I was like, okay, I completely understand. So I was just like waiting in the room, and then an hour and a half later, there was still like nothing. I was like, damn, I really, really, really have to go pee. And then I just like kind of like peek out the door. So I kind of like just opened the door, and I peeked my head out, and then people, like the nurse was just like, can I help you? Like, what's going on? Because like I tried to press the button, but like no one's come to me.
Yeah.
Like no one calling somebody. So that was kind of interesting too. And yeah, and they ended up sending me up to a room for observation, and that experience was also really interesting because the nurse came back and said, hey, do you want me to push you on the bed? Do you want a wheelchair? And I was like, I don't really care, whatever is more convenience for you. And then he was like, well, you have some stuff here, we might as well just take the whole bed, it looks like you're comfortable. So I'm like, okay. Fun hospital ride on the bed with the nurse like pushing me, right? Because they also assigned another person just to make sure everything is good. And from getting from the emergency room to the actual room that I was staying, we have to take the elevator. And when we first got to the elevators, just usual thing, no one really paying too much attention, just waiting for elevator. And we're just kind of chit-chatting with the nurse, and none of us really pay attention at that point. And then an other person was also waiting for the elevator at the same time, and elevator got there, and then there was someone inside, and the other person just walked in. And in a usual hospital situation, like, you just push the patient in, everybody get on the same elevator and go. We went in because no one, we weren't really paying too much attention. We went in, and then right before, it was funny because right before the doors closed, the nurse was like, no, we have to get out. Oh. And then it's like everybody was like, okay. And then he just like pushed me right out, like opened the door and just pushed me right out. And then we're like kind of laughing about it because like that's such a normal, usual things for them to do. It's like, it's basically like you wake up, go grab a cup of coffee, like daily routine. Yeah. Get the patient up the room. But because of my symptoms, because of the new protocol, I'm not allowed to be around other people. So that whole way, like everybody panicked and everybody was like a pretty interesting experience. And and they ended up putting me in a special I forgot the term for it, but it's basically for it's like a specific isolation room for people with, I guess, like droplets type of virus. I don't have a proper term for that. Okay. Yeah, so they put me in that room, and that room had right outside of it, supposedly the way they explained to me is someone is there to make sure whoever comes in to interact with you or specific people that they have authorization. If you need to get out, there's protocol and stuff like that. So I was just in the room, hook up on IV again, and then waited for a little bit, and then a couple doctors came in, and then they just kind of like, oh, settle you in, like asking some questions, and no one will explain anything. They walk away, and then more waiting. So I was just like I wasn't too tired that day. I was just like, I was exhausted, but wasn't too tired. So I was just like up. And around noon on that Saturday, another, like, two doctors came in. One, she came in and she's like, how is everything? Like, everything all right? And which was interesting that I guess the whole things that happened in the emergency room with another doctor happened to her again.
Okay.
Where, like, she was basically like in a different way where she's like, yeah, there's nothing we can really do. We sort of with a vibe where, like, there's nothing they can do, and at the same time there's nothing they know. Like, it's also kind of like they don't know what to do. And everybody, it's interesting, like, everybody I encounter, everybody that, at the hospital that saw me, they, instead of telling me anything else, like, of course they were really nice and make sure everything was fine with me. But everybody has the same, which is interesting, everybody has the same tone of voice. Everybody has the same way of telling me that, don't worry about it. You'll be fine. You're young. So everybody, that was the most repeated things I've heard at the hospital. Everybody just told me, don't worry about it. You'll be fine. You're young. We just to make sure that you hydrate. You're okay with this, and then we're gonna send you home. And that's before, because the hospital also did another test on me for the coronavirus, and obviously the test results wouldn't be available for, supposedly at that time, urgent care and hospital told me the test would take about 2 days for the results to come back, but which that ended up not happening for about a week.
Okay.
So they sent me home, with also no medication. Hospital prescribed me with an inhaler, and that's basically it. So went home.
Did they did they like tell you any, like, oh, don't interact with anyone right now, or they just sent you home, like, no precautions?
No, they were like, oh, just make sure that you don't go out, minimize, like, who you see, who you interact with, and they just, like, sleep a lot, rest a lot. And there was nothing much from the hospital at that point, because everybody kind of like, we can only send you home. There's nothing you can really do. And just go home and wait for the results. There was nothing more than that, actually. That was a hospital experience. And when I left, they did the whole protocol thing, make sure, someone pushes me on a wheelchair to go leave, and no one really around me, kind of thing. So they did try that. But yeah, so I went home and just wait for the news.
Was this during lockdown already, or this was before the lockdown started? The lockdown happened on 17th or so, right? I don't remember this right day.
I don't remember the specific day, but that's right before the lockdown, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that was about, it's like a couple, like the time that is really close. It's like a couple days to a week maximum, I think. And yeah, so I went home and basically just wait. And Saturday happened, so I was at the urgent care on Thursday night, and everybody, including the hospital, was hoping that we'll get a test by Monday latest.
Okay.
Because at first we were like, oh, maybe if we get lucky, we can get the results back Sunday, early Monday. So I was just waiting. And next thing we know, like days later, which is like a week later, that's when the first sample test came back from the urgent care. And the doctor called me and he was like, I have some news for you. The results came back. And I was like, okay. And he was like, oh yeah, it came back negative.
Oh.
So I'm like, oh, that's great, right? And then the doctor was like, well, based on the symptoms, even if it comes back negative, it might still be, there's still a pretty good chance that it's positive, but the test is just not showing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. So at that point, I'm like, well, great. So I don't have coronavirus. So I'll just update, my friends and everybody's like, great, yeah, this is good. And I joke about it. I was like, watch, they're gonna call me back later and they're gonna be like, oh, by the way, the test actually came back positive. So I was like joking. I was just like joking. I was like completely like, I'm kind of getting better already. It's okay. I'm not coronavirus. So I was just like, great. And pursue with everything. But at the time, at the same time, I was still being really cautious because like they were like, don't try not to see anybody. Don't have interaction with your housemate. Don't go out. And, and another few days passed by. After, like a couple of days later, after the first phone call from the urgent care doctor saying the test was negative, he called back again. He said, by the way, the second sample came back positive. Wow. So I paused and I was like, so what does this mean? I have one negative and one positive. And then the doctor was like, yeah, the chances of you're positive, and because the test, it's kind of in a way where like it's easier to get a false negative than a false positive. Okay. So at that point, he was like, yeah, so if that's the case, then we confirm you have it. So I was like, okay. And he was like, how are you feeling? Usual conversation. And he's like, I would prescribe you more medication. Just go have your housemate pick up at the pharmacies. So I'm like, okay. And then we hang up. And next thing I know, got a call from the health department. Basically, this specific person, I think her job is to contact every possible patient, every person that is tested positive, and get their information, their interaction within the when the symptoms start, like who you talked to, where you went, when did you go there, who is in your house. So she basically got all the, basically the week and a half, 2 weeks since my symptoms started. She basically asked me every single day, what have I done, if I have to go outside, who did I talk to, who did I see, and basically got their information, like restaurant I have been to, they got address, like everything. And the person was basically telling me like, this is tested positive, we need to make sure that you're in isolation, the differences is quarantine, you get to stay in the house, and you get to do your daily stuff inside the house, and you are allowed to go out to pick up, groceries, like essentials. And in the meantime, isolation means they specifically told me stay in your room, don't go outside. Don't have any interaction with your housemate, or try not to have any interaction with your housemate. The only time you should be outside of your room is when you go use the restroom or when you go grab food. And the extent that they wanted the whole isolation, the extent they wanted was kind of like just have someone drop off food right in front of your door, like your room door, have they walk away, and then you go open your door and grab it. Sanitize everything, bathroom, every time you use it, you have to wipe it down. Don't share, they actually said don't share the bathroom with anybody else. Basically telling me that I need to be on my own, without possible face-to-face interaction at that point. So I ended up being in that quote-unquote isolation. Well, once I started getting sick, it was kind of like that quote-unquote isolation, but I was still seeing my housemate, everybody else. But for a good 2.5 weeks after I came back from the hospital, that's literally like I barely see anybody. Even though I can hear them from outside my room, I'm like, I know you guys are there, but I'm like, I'm not gonna walk out of the room.
Yeah. So when you were tested positive, how did you feel at that moment? Like, did your heart, like, everything just sink, like, whoa?
It was funny. I was like kind of laughing about it.
Because you can't believe it, right? In a way.
Couldn't believe it, and I was like, oh crap, I jinxed it. Like I make fun of it. But I guess the whole being like talking to different professional, like from the health department, at the hospital, at urgent care, everybody kind of already prepped me with the idea. So before I even know the test was positive, so the mentality was before urgent care, I'm like, I'm for sure it's nothing. After urgent care was kind of like, I still don't really think it's coronavirus. It might just be some sort of pneumonia, some sort of, infection. And as it moved on, after all the professionals were just like telling me like, you'll be fine, you're young, don't worry about it. At that point, actually gave me the idea that, oh crap, if I really tested positive, I there's nothing they can do. There's nothing I can do. And the way they signed is, well, nothing we can do. Worst case scenario or possible scenario is you could just be like gone.
Oh.
And so with the whole like coughing, with the whole like trouble breathing, at some point I did have like just lay in my bed, right? Like not having any human contact with people. I was just like, damn, this sucks. And some like it was weird. I don't know if it's because of the medication, because I was constantly on something that would make me really sleepy. So it did have like this one night kind of just like half awake, and when you take like sleeping pill or like some sort of medication make you really sleepy, you just kind of like your body feel pretty light.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know I'm not dead, but like in my mind I was like, the chances of this happening is pretty high as of right now. Like, what's going to happen? So there was a lot of like, what's going to happen? I think the whole time before the test came back positive, I was also started like making a list of like people I saw, and as the period of like waiting for the test to go by, the fear of crap, this is really happening, start to build up a little bit. So I guess that whole week with the prepping, from urgent care, hospital, health department, I kind of already had a sense where like even the test came back positive, I think it's still, even if the test came back negative, I still think that I'm positive.
Okay.
If that makes sense, where like,
yeah, you just didn't fully believe that it was a negative test because of the signs that you had already or so.
Yeah, and then with like, because at that point I'm like, well, that's that was already when the whole lockdown started to happen. So I'm like, I can't go anywhere anyways. I'm not gonna step up in the house. So what what's really a big difference for me at that point. Like if it's negative, positive, doesn't matter. But by the time hearing it from the doctor, by the time, because before the health department called me, I was like, this is so like, it's not accurate. I could just get another call later saying that this is negative, like, whatever.
Okay.
And until the health department called, and I'm like, crap, okay. This is like, slap me in the face, this is reality, and just deal with it. And yeah. And then a couple of days after that phone call, we've tested positive, hospital call. One of the doctor that was talking to me, she ended up calling me, and she's like, oh, by the way, your test came back. And then she paused. Mm-hmm. She just like, oh, by the way, the coronavirus test result came back. And then she paused, right? And I was like, it came back positive, huh? And then she was like, and then she started laughing. She's like, no, this is negative. Mm-hmm. Like, whoa. And then I explained the situation to her. And then she's like, yeah, this is the first sample that just came back to us. So we're going to pay attention to the second one. But if the health department really contact you, if there's one test showing positive, the chances of it is positive is quite high. So at that point, I was kind of joking with the doctor already, because that was like a couple of days after I got the news from another doctor. Okay. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say during the whole period of time, of course I had time where like it was extremely lonely. Mm-hmm. I was extremely bored, because like literally there's nothing I can do in the room except be on my
computer. Nothing, right? Other than just social media, or like find something to do in your room, or whatever's on the computer. Like
and at that point it was more like I was literally like sleeping like 20 some hours a day.
Wow. Something like you probably wouldn't have think you could do, right?
Well, yeah, mm-hmm. Like not to that like extent where like the entire 2 weeks, I'm like 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, I'm just like constantly sleeping. Mm-hmm. And then by the time, how I got a sense that I start to get better and really fully recover was that I start not to be able to sleep. And I start having that, the inside rage where like you just want to go outside, you just want to do something. So that's why I realized that I'm like, I'm probably fine now, so everything is good.
Okay. So
yeah.
So basically, when you test positive, were you still in a lot of pain or like very sick, or by then you had already cooled down with everything?
The cough wouldn't go away for a while, but at that point I was able to. I wasn't able to eat as like a regular portion, but I was able to eat on a daily basis. Okay. And the cough that went from I was absolutely like dying, like I couldn't talk at all. You could hear my wheezing, and you can hear the breathing problem kind of thing, to it slowly go away. It slowly went away within within a week after I was at a hospital.
Okay.
And oh yeah, funny thing, when I was at the hospital, I was like dying. I was like, oh, I'm coughing, I can't breathe. So I was like, hey, I asked the doctor, I was like, hey, by the way, urgent care gave me this breathing treatment, and it worked, and I was feeling a lot better. And the doctor basically said, like, we can't give that to you, because if they do that, the whole thing, like the whole room is going to cover with like the virus, if anything.
Wow.
So they actually denied me with that. So I guess at that point I also realized, if that's the case, I'm not that bad. Like, even though I'm coughing a lot, I'm feeling really bad. But if they're not putting me on a ventilator, they're not even giving me any breathing treatment, that means I was kind of fine. So I was like, whatever. But yeah, that was a side note. And yeah, by the time the doctor called me saying that I'm positive, that was that I would say, except the cough, which was not as severe as before. Aside from the cough and some, I had this like weird muscle pain sort of on the left side of my body around like my rib cage for a little bit. It's kind of like sore, sometimes it hurt, so that stayed for a little bit. But overall, by the time I knew I was positive, I think that was towards the end of it. So it's like maybe 25% left, and 25-30% left until I was completely fine.
All right, so that's a good thing, because when you're in isolation, it's like you can't interact with no one. And you don't want to be in all that pain. It's like the lowest of the lowest you can be in life right now. Lonely, pain, everything.
Yeah. That was at that. Gosh, at that point I didn't really feel as much, because at that point I was just like so tired all the time. But like as me getting less sick, that's when it happened. That's when the whole like really low point, that's when it happened.
Okay, because you were able to process and think more, so then you're just like, man, what am I doing?
It was like I would say it was a interesting time where, like, because usually I'm pretty busy, it forces me to stop doing everything. So that ended up being a good opportunity to rest, to think. But at the same time, it's like it was really, really painful that because I'm not trying to be negative, because the whole thing I'm trying to be like, this is like an experience, this is interesting, but deep down at the end of the day, at some point it was really, really, it really sucks. Where like aside from my family not being in the US, I still have a lot of my friends around me. I have, people that I live with, amazing housemate that taking care of me. But at the same time, is by the time you're in bed, you are in a room with no one to talk to. You're sick, and I think the worst part of it is when I'm in that, just laying down, doing nothing. Kind of sick at that point, and I could hear like my house. I'm not complaining. I'm not like blaming, but it's just like experience that I just want to picture, give some sort of picture to people, where like I could hear them like laughing, hanging out in the living room. I was able to see like my friends on social media where like they're doing things with other people. At that point, I was just like, this sucks. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, a little emotional. I get it. That does suck a lot. To hear your roommates laughing and you just hear like nothing towards them, but it's just that it's painful, right? Because it's like you're stuck. It's like you can't, even if you want to.
Yeah, and at that point, it started to have news coming out where like some people are healthy, and they got sick today, and then a couple of days later they're gone, right? Like that, for some reason it didn't really occur to me how depressed the whole thing was when I was really sick, because again, I didn't really have time to process it. But by the time that kind of over, that's when I'm like having the thought of like, oh crap, I could just like out of nowhere die, and then no one would know that I'm in the room. Like no one would know that happened when I'm in the room. Yeah. Not saying my housemate don't check on me, but they're instructed not to interact with me, So I was just like, crap, I could be dead and no one noticed for like hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. And but everybody was being really supportive, because I guess the whole network of friends around me make the whole experience a lot lighter. And because when the whole thing happened when I was at the hospital, that's when I realized that, okay, it's kind of time to tell people about this. And at that time, the change of thought was, being responsible, where I need to tell people who I saw, give them a heads up, or someone that knows someone who saw me, that they meet up, kind of thing. And at the same time, it was also kind of like a selfish reason for myself, where I thought, because at that point it was so early stage, where like people were still talking about like, oh, this is not that serious. People were still, like, a lot of my friends was still going out, planning to see other people. A lot of people are like, well, some, luckily I don't have friends around. Well, I wouldn't say luckily. There's, just a personal opinion, where like, luckily I have friends around me telling me that this is a conspiracy theory, where something is happening, but this is happening. So the part of me ended up basically releasing it, or posting it on my own social media, telling people what is happening. And as soon as that happened, like, everybody was really supportive. So I guess even though I was in isolation with, but with the whole social media, with, people trying to talk to me, reach out to me, that ended up being, it makes that whole situation a lot lighter, I would say. You know how, like, I came across one of my friends. She posted on her social media about her experience going to the drive-through self-testing. I don't know why that stick with me, where I'm like scratching my head. I'm like, well, the chances of you guys taking a proper sample would be very minimal. Like, because I was talking about, like, when I was at a hospital, they had to really, really stick it inside, and which, like, if I were someone doing it myself, the chances of me getting it right would almost be impossible.
Yeah, because the nurse herself messed up on the first time with you. So what makes them think the drive-thrus are like doing it accurately? That's what's kind of scary, right? About how all this is spreading kind of fast. It's like, are we taking a proper procedure?
Right. I mean, unless we're talking about the drive-through has, they do a different testing, or they do a different type of kit. Because I know it sounds like they only take one sample from you with those drive-through. But I don't know.
Yeah, I've never done it, so.
Yeah, I see why they're doing that, because at that time, like, at that point, they don't need that many, like, manpower or like nurses and stuff being there, and
yeah,
it makes sense, but it also doesn't quite make sense based on my experience being the person getting tested.
Okay. Do you feel like you're one of the first in America to like have it, like, positive?
Seeing the statistics,
or at least in California.
I know for the fact, just based on the numbers that health department was releasing at that point, I know for the fact I wasn't the first one, but I was early on.
Yeah.
And I ended up being, when I check it, a week and a half ago, or what, I didn't check it. My friend sent it to me. Sorry. And like, they're like, he was kind of jokingly, he was like, well, you just become part of the statistic, and you are 50% of this, because in Tustin, in Orange County, there were only 2 confirmed cases, and me being one. I was like, funny.
You're like, hey, that's me. That's that one.
That's me. I'm like, I'm the 50% now.
Yeah. So.
But yeah.
I mean, how did you find out that you weren't basically on coronavirus, COVID-19 anymore? Did the doctor reach out to you, or just symptoms just went away and you're like, okay, I'm not in it. I'm not with it anymore?
Well, this is interesting, because I think it's health department's job to make sure I don't know who is responsible with someone like me that getting positive and then get sent home. Because health department, when they contact me, they the person did told me that, oh yeah, I will check up on you in a few days and check up on the symptoms and see what's going on. And they wasn't instructing me, but the sense that I got was, well, once the symptoms are completely gone, just be in self quarantine for at least another 14 days.
Okay.
But at the same time, is again, even though I'm recovered, I'm 100%. There's nowhere for me to go.
Yeah.
And right now, I guess it's still in back of my head that because no one really knows how long the virus kind of incubate in your system.
Mm-hmm.
There are research saying that, oh, now you're immune from it. You are no longer carrier after X amount of days, but to me, it's kind of like this is not 100% confirmed in my point of view. So I'm still. Last week when when the symptoms finally completely gone away, sort of end of last week, kind of when I make that post.
Yeah.
At that point, my housemate, they were the one that kind of like not forced me, but they were like encouraging me to be in the living room.
Uh-huh.
But then I was still in like surgical mask, like just sitting far away from everybody. Until this week, that's when I would sit on the same table with them, kind of thing. But I don't know. It's kind of like
It's a weird process.
I guess being it's always. I guess being careful is always a better approach in my opinions for stuff like that. So at this point I still don't go anywhere. I did went on a car ride when my housemate decided to go pick up some food from the drive-thru.
Yeah. Still quarantine.
So, right. I was like, okay, I'm gonna be in my surgical mask. I'm not gonna touch anything. I'm just gonna sit here. So I did one on that, and here and there, like I would step outside of the house just to be outside for like a couple minutes, and I would just go back.
How did it feel going outside for the first time?
Dude, that was amazing. It was just like random afternoon. I'm like, I have to get outside.
Yeah.
And I was just, this is amazing. And I have never thought about I would feel it that way.
Or never appreciate it as much as you did, huh?
Yeah, I was just like, step out of the house was like a usual everyday thing, to like that one day I was like, wow.
Yeah. And the process is weird. What you're telling me is like, I would have thought that, first off, when you're test positive for this, I thought you wouldn't be at home. I thought you would be like in a hospital or somewhere quarantine or something. On top of that, no one really caught you to tell you that you're not on it no more, or even double check on you, like, oh, can we get a second test? Like, especially with you being like one of the 51st in Orange County, it's like I would have thought, hey, can we test you again? Like, I would thought they want to study more with all your like blood and stuff, right?
Right. I that actually came across my mind, and I actually did had a discussion with my friend. Him as an engineer, he was like, this just does not make any sense. How come, as you said, no one reached out to me, no one tried to monitor the process, no one trying to get basically statistic data that they could potentially monitor and be used as some sort of research.
Yeah.
But I guess the whole situation, which that's the whole mentality that I have with the whole thing. Like, some of my friends, they got pretty upset where like they're like, how could no one reach out to you? How come the test took so long? I can't believe they still have not told you this. But at the same time, is I think, which I really did appreciate, everybody is I think everybody, just in California itself, or even in Orange County itself, the whole medical system is pretty overloaded right now. Uh, um, because even for me, it's just by me saying I went through that process, just for me to briefly tell people on social media. I got so many people reaching out to me because they a lot of people reached out in a sense where like, hey Doris, I don't know what to do. I have a cough. I have this. I
Okay.
think we can test it. So even for a regular person like me, just me went through that process. I get so many people asking for it.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how, I can't imagine how much of a disaster right now everywhere else is.
Yeah, especially the nurses, the stress they're going through. And maybe, I just thought about it, like, maybe they're not checking on you because, New York and Washington, they were way worse, the cases, so they probably did all the studies there already, so they already know after 2 weeks, oh, you should be done, as long as you listen to protocols. So, yeah,
Right.
nothing against them. I just thought about it. Yeah.
Right. I mean, like to me, I have a comparison where, obviously growing up in Hong Kong, being in Hong Kong while, the whole coronavirus started to happen, 2 months ago, I do see a complete different approach from the government, in terms of how they take care of the whole situation. But at the same time, the US system is different because there are a lot more people. And at the same time, it's the whole outbreak in New York, the whole outbreak in Washington. I'm pretty sure whatever data they need, that sample size is already good enough.
They got enough, and they're probably like running around over there already. So
right.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure like the environment when I was at UCI hospital and today it's completely different as well. I'm pretty
they're more
like
prepared.
A lot of, one of my friend, he's respiratory system like therapist. Even with him, he's just like so busy, and then he just got sick, like sick as if he started to show some symptoms. So like now, even for him, he has to stop working completely. At least like for self quarantine and stuff.
Yeah.
So like a lot of my friends some of my friends are in the medical system where it basically everybody just overworking. Everybody gets so busy, and so I have nothing to complain about. Like even though like it seems like they don't give me any update, no one check on me, but at the same time I think this is understandable in terms of what's happening right now.
Yeah, it just feels weird because I would have thought they would do more things, but looking back, I'm like, they already know they already tested people in New York. They probably did all that in New York, like check on you, making sure you're okay. So then, in the beginning, right?
Yeah, it's kind of debatable because if you think about how many people are getting sick in the same period of time, I also can't imagine how much of a disaster it is over there right now.
Oh yeah, it's really bad, as you've seen on the John Hopkins page. I was like, wow, it's like all red. I'm like, wow, it's kind of crazy. Yeah. It's crazy. So I was when you got positive, when you were test positive, they asked you for all your friends and whoever you came in contact with, their information. Did they go check on them also, or?
They ended up reaching out to my housemate individually.
Okay.
So they check on them because I think they consider as a close contact type. And at that point, I already told the health department, the lady, where like my other friends I saw, because the list was still relatively short at that time because got back and got sick and I basically didn't really see anybody. So I already told them at that point, I already individually talked to those people and like people I saw, and then some of them quote unquote have symptoms. They already went to get it tested.
Okay.
So I guess at that point, she they only need to contact people that they think is
has symptoms or any type of sickness. Wow, it's like your housemates are really lucky that they didn't get it while you had it, right? Like they dodged one.
Yeah, I was so well in their point of view, in what they believe in is that they're already sick. They just don't have any symptoms.
Oh, they're probably immune, right? In some ways.
So we always joke about how like everybody in the house is already immune. It's better to get sick early on than later.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was just so glad whenever my friend who saw me telling me, oh yeah, the test came back negative, because like the whole, of course, having time to to think about it, my mind basically went from me getting sick to thousands of people who are getting sick because of me.
Okay.
Because like
you thought you were at fault.
I mean, like it's like it's kind of like a simple math, right? Where I see you see another person, that person see another, and that number is just going to multiply. It's not just like 1 = 1 anymore. I mean, 1 + 1 = 2 anymore.
Yeah, that's why we're on lockdown, guys. So stay inside. Do it for everyone, man. So I could go back and travel.
I know. I can say it now because I went through that process. I start to tell people like stay home. Like it's the whole process is not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Like right now, just because I personally don't have health insurance at this time, so I'm like I have hospital bills I need to take care of while everybody's on lockdown. Businesses are getting hurt. And at the same time, it's like stay home. It's a good thing. I told you it's a good thing. Like in a busy lifestyle, you get to have a chance to actually slow down. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
Same time, like I sometimes joke about it. It's like if I can just stay in the room by myself for weeks, your quarantine is nothing. So
it's nothing compared to what you had to go to in pain, and you had to stay in your room, no interaction, nothing. The best you could do is FaceTime at most.
I was so sick that I couldn't even FaceTime anybody.
Yeah. So.
Like my friend tried to, and then they were just like, you sound like you're dying, I'm gonna hang out.
Yeah, just talking is hard to talk, right?
Yeah, so like and I always talk because a lot of my friends ended up saying like, oh, I have a cough, oh, I need to go get tested. Even though with more testing available nowadays, I start to see like people start to overthink the whole situation, and then sometimes I joke about, I'm like, if you have it, trust me, you will know that this is like it is not just like a regular cough. Like oh, it's not like, oh, I'm getting a slight fever, it would be a point where like it's uncontrollable, and it's at a point where like the chances of you knowing this is more than just a cough, it's a lot higher than you think.
Because there's a lot of other symptoms other than just coughing, and the coughing is different. Like it's your voice gets raspy. It's like everything. But
because I grew up with asthma, a long time ago, and I'm completely fine now. It's at that point it was nothing compared to it. I was just like, oh.
Yeah, it's not asthma. So, question: how do you think you got the coronavirus? Was it from traveling, or how did?
I said no. I want to believe that I got it back in the States, because when I was in Hong Kong, my family did a lot. My family was being really careful. I was being really careful, and no one around me are sick. No one I have close interaction are sick, thankfully. So my only guess would be, if anything, it would be on the plane.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It could be the plane touching things or so, or someone just basically passed it to you. It's like, oh.
But usually when that happened, I would imagine I would get a call from the airline or someone. Because if anything, that means someone else on the plane has been sick already. And by the time I got sick, or by the time my symptom shows,
they would have
that person,
contacted everyone on that was on that airplane, because you're breathing the air, the restrooms, touching anything. So that's where
that's what I would imagine it would happening, because that's basically what happened in Asia or in Hong Kong, where once basically it's to the point where like once someone is confirmed positive, the extent of what the Hong Kong government is doing is that they would literally send you would be in the hospital and you would be in isolation, and they will send a team of people to go clean the house, to clean building, and then they will do an evaluation how many people and who needs to be in. It's not even a voluntary quarantine. It's they will pick you up,
mandatory,
and then they will drop you off at like a specific campsite for isolation, and then they will wait, and then they will test people, and then they will wait till everybody after the 14 days to be like, oh, you're good to go home, you're not good to go home, and then they will send you home. So that was the level that I was expecting.
Yeah, that's something I was expecting out of it too. Oh yeah, and don't forget, your family, no one in Hong Kong was infected, so then in case people are thinking she got it in Hong Kong, because none of your family was infected. But yeah, it's like that's what I was expecting out of it, like the way Hong Kong treated. That's what I thought would happen in America, because you see it in movies all the time, right?
No, but then I had this discussion conversation with some people. I think the whole I don't know if we talk about it when we were on the phone, but like mentality, the cultural mentalities are in this. It shows how different it is, between countries, and
why one is spreading faster than the other in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, New York is hard to say because New York is such a big city, and you're basically in a subway system. You're in the
everyone's shoulder to shoulder. Yeah.
Right, and at that point, it's once someone touches something in the subway or just sneeze in the subway, and that's it for many people.
Yeah.
That can the system do better? Of course, but at the same time, is a lot of things are still kind of understandable. It still sort of makes sense, but because if you think about it, if New York need to take that kind of caution as what Hong Kong would do, the problem would be the system would be paralyzed because there's so many people getting sick.
Yeah.
They basically have to take like hundreds of thousands of people going to a specific place for quarantine,
which we don't have, especially in New York.
Right. So yeah, it's an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah.
But I think as an individual, as much as it sounds annoying or cheesy, everybody's saying just stay home. Like, it's good to stay home.
And well, that's my next question. What do you think people can do to make sure they don't have COVID-19? Which you basically just answered, but what else?
Tell everybody else around you to stay home.
Yeah, so just stay home, everyone. Just do it so it can all end faster than it should be, because people are still going out to enjoy.
This turn from a regional thing that you can stay home for only 14 days or maybe a month to now this is a global thing. If the whole thing like my friend basically said, like my housemate mentioned it, which I completely agree. If this thing needs to be completely go away, it will end up being a global effort of a complete lockdown from everywhere.
Yeah.
Because right now the problem is like at that point where like the whole US situation was it started to show cases from China. So US stopped and they did a certain thing to stop, traveler from specific location to come in. But because of other places start to have the outbreak and people still didn't know, because this whole incubator time is too long. So by the time someone is sick, they have been a carrier for so long already.
Yeah, they already passed it down to a couple other people potentially.
And those people just it's like a premium scheme where everyone just pass on everybody.
And it makes so much sense how it could pass by so fast. 1 person to 2, 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 8, 16.
It's multiple, yeah.
It's crazy. But what's one thing you want to do after quarantine's over, when everything cools down?
What I really want to do, it sounds kind of dumb, but the Cantonese barbecue pork?
Cantonese barbecue pork? No. Oh, char siu?
Char siu, yeah.
Okay.
So it's a specific dish. I don't know why the entire time I'm in quarantine or self-isolation, I could only think about eating that, and which I don't know why. So if by the time everything is done, by the time everything is back to normal, I just want to get. It sounds so Asian. I want to get dim sum with friends. I just want to see people.
Yeah, that's one thing I want to do. I want to interact with people. I kind of actually miss it because I don't really care for it back then. But I'm
it might end up being a good thing because now people are stuck with their phone. So maybe by the time you get to see your friends, people are actually willing to put down their phone.
Yeah, and it's put your phone down when we're eating, dude. You were on your phone long enough, or that's a whole month or 2 you were on your phone. Just put it down. Let's just talk like civilians.
Like a normal person, have a party like later, not right now, later. Like have a party, have a gathering. It will make the whole things even more fun.
Yeah.
A lot of my friends are I can't see which is funny because a lot of my friends sometimes will be my families are so annoying to the point where they're telling me I miss my family. My mom is going out and I'm mad and I'm this. I'm like, oh, that's good for you.
Well, yeah, but now it's all different. It changes us. This lockdown has really, it should have taught everyone at least something. Like I say, I learned a lot of new things during this lockdown, doing this podcast. And then I get to meet people like you and stuff, and that's pretty cool. But it's about it for this podcast. Is there anything you want to tell the viewers, how they could find you on social media?
I will share that with you. My social media, except the food page, normally is private. So I can share that with you. Anything else I want to say?
Yeah, just let them know your social media page. That's one thing.
Yeah, well, I will. I have a
your food page. Let them know.
Doris, so it's Doris and Delicious combined, which later on you can show it to them. I actually one thing, if apparently a lot of my friends around me can't give me ideas of what to cook. Okay. So if anybody hearing this and know I'm bored out of my mind, I do love cooking and I'm just out of ideas what to make. So if anybody has any suggestion for how to entertain with cooking during the quarantine time, let me know.
Yeah.
I would definitely make that happen.
Yeah. Well, all right. Thank you, Doris, for being a guest. I appreciate it a lot. And yeah, you look like you're feeling like you're 100%. I'm not sure how you were before, but yeah, you look like you're perfectly fine right now.
Yeah, thankfully. And, of course, thank you for everybody that took care of me during the time, trying to make sure I'm alive kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it sounds cheesy, but also I really, really appreciate for everybody that is in the front line, not just in the medical system, but even including small businesses that are essential business or even non-essential business trying to really keep up with everything.
Yeah, this is hard times right now.
yeah, like I mean, me as a small business owner, this period of time is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so support local business
Yeah.
and everybody else around you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, guys. We are out.